Dayal. I go by Tia, and I am the Chief Experience Officer and co-founder at SkySelect. For those who do not know SkySelect, we provide parts procurement services and technology for airlines and MROs. We help digitize and automate material purchasing for leaner and more asset-light operations. However, today, we are not here to talk about AI or digitization or what SkySelect does. We are starting with a project which is empowering female leaders and their voice to be heard in the industry. So we will discuss how female leaders feel about working in aviation industry, their career opportunities, and how and what they could change for greater success. We believe that having an equal opportunity in the leadership position is extremely crucial for the success of aviation, and also inspiring the new talent that is entering in aviation to have mentors to look up to, like Grace herself here. So today our guest here is Grace Regillo. She's a Senior Director and Strategic Procurement at Air Canada. And she has been in the aviation industry for about 25 years in Air Canada, where she has been leading finance and procurement roles since 2011. She has been now also looking at maintenance and technical services, and she is the board of director at Aircraft Suppliers Association since 2015. I'm sure her background and experience is, much better if she's from Grace, but we are super excited to, have her here, and we couldn't think of, a better leader than Grace herself to share her experience and inspire other women leaders in aviation. So Grace, I would love to hear, your background that you can share with the audience here.
Thank you very much, Tia, and thank you for yourself and SkySelect for having me here today to share my experience. A little bit about myself was thank you for that introduction. Yes, it's almost 25 years that I've been at Air Canada in various finance roles, and been in procurement since 2011. I actually support all the maintenance activities. So my team and I are responsible for procurement of maintenance and technical services. Yeah, I love this industry. It's an industry that many are passionate about, including myself. And I've seen many roles of women in inspiring other women. And I hope that what I can share of my experience can inspire some others.
Thank you so much. We are really excited to have you here and can't wait for your opinion on the questions that we're going to ask to be recorded and shared, and as well as in written format with the audience in aviation. So this interview that we have here with Grace is going to constitute about 9 questions that we would love to hear her thoughts on. And as you can see on the screen, the very first question here is, Grace, what advice would you give to aspiring young women who want to break into the aviation industry?
I find this question very, very interesting, and I'll actually rephrase it a little bit. There's nothing to break in the aviation industry for young women. I think it's already broken. There's many women even that have come before me in my time that have had that challenge and that have broken the aviation industry, and that's allowed myself and all the future generations to come to have the opportunity in aviation. There's many different roles that women can have in the aviation industry. And the thing I would say is, if you feel that bug, because most people in the aviation industry, they call it the aviation bug. If you feel that bug, definitely pursue it. And there's not only one particular role, there's so many and vast roles for women in the aviation industry. So nothing to be broken here. It's already broken, and the more the merrier. It's a great industry to work in.
That's fantastic. There's a saying in aviation that once you get into aviation, you can't leave aviation.
Very true, very true.
So I can see that you have an extensive background in finance and now in procurement. And I'm sure that, you're going to be in aviation and continue making impact in aviation.
We will try. That's the hope.
The next question that, wanting to check in with you is, are you seeing an equal male to female ratio in leadership positions in your operation or in the industry? And what's your take on it?
I have definitely seen some changes in the ratio from when I started to where I am today. And I can tell you today, if I look at the executive suite at Air Canada, women are very well represented. If I look at our board of directors, we have women as well on our board. So there's been many advancements, many changes, I think, in the ratio of male to female from my experience that I've seen at Air Canada, as well as I've seen in the industry as well. Where that we could see a little bit more improvement that can be made is, I do support maintenance, and there it's not a typical, division of the aviation industry where you see a lot of women that are attracted to such. First and foremost. So I think there we can possibly see a little bit more representation of women. There's definitely an opportunity there. But for the most part, throughout my career, I've seen major changes here. And there's been quite a great ratio of female versus male improvements.
Yeah, so it's definitely improving, it's going in the positive direction.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. And I love that you have a positive take on it. On how things are improving, and the leaders have been very supportive in having leaders like yourself in position like director and VP and above and board levels, because it's extremely important to see different voices to be heard as we continue building aviation to a better future. Now let's look at the past a little bit. Have you, been impacted by COVID-19 personally, your career, or maybe even the department that you're leading?
Absolutely. I mean, if we look at the aviation industry, this was the biggest crisis that this industry has ever seen historically. So the industry as a whole fell to a screeching halt. And one of the things that I think this offered was really an opportunity for leadership. This was, the time where whether people had titles or did not have titles really did not matter, but we saw ample example of people really stepping up and showing leadership skills. So, and this was really about taking care of people. Many different people were reacting very differently to the circumstances. The personal lives were very much impacted, professional lives were very much impacted. And this was really, I think, an opportunity for leadership, really stepping up and helping people through the crisis. And as we take care of people, then sometimes we realize that business actually benefits in the process of when we start taking care of people. So it was a very, very critical time in our industry, but I think, a lot of people stepped up to the opportunity to really help others.
Yeah. So taking care of, each other and coming together in a more unified way, and having organic leaders come up, that is pretty fantastic experience. What about your team? Did you see any changes in terms of your team size or the talent of joining in Air Canada, or hiring issues,
Yes, absolutely, Tia, absolutely. We had to make very, very difficult decision to actually downsize during the crisis. And I have to tell you, there were certain people that, literally put up their hand and say, I know certain people on our team cannot go through this, but I can, because I'm okay. I'll volunteer. please let me go. I've seen so many different examples of just the human spirit really giving such inspiration for others. So yes, we definitely did have to make that difficult decision of downsizing through the crisis. And as we started to see things slowly get better, we started to call them back. Today, the industry is still struggling, struggling with what most people have as a situation today is, bringing back the talent and retaining the talent. This is something that is, ongoing. And I think the industry is getting better. We're glad to see that traffic is coming back, and we're excited about the future and rebuilding the industry.
Yeah, very well said. And hopefully even attracting new talent who are not in aviation, and new blood and younger generation who can join in, and that we can train to be part of aviation.
That's the beauty, Tia. I tend to agree with that statement very much. The beauty of it is when there's a big thing at Air Canada, and there's diversity is very, very big at Air Canada. And when you add diversity, you get to see different points of view, and this, creates those creative juices actually come to fruition when you have more diversity. So definitely.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic that it's such a big initiative at Air Canada, and also for yourself, for your department, to prioritize diversity and to prioritize having different perspectives and opinions being heard on the table. What about, mentors? Do you have your own mentors that you have looked up to in the industry, or, leaders that you have, been getting advice from as you're progressing in this career?
I would say that there's many different examples at Air Canada of women that have really progressed in their career, have become very successful, and they're part of our executive team. And there's many women at Air Canada that just watch and are inspired by such great examples that we have. From a mentor's perspective, I was fortunate enough to actually have a few different mentors. In my case, a majority of them were usually men. And I do have to say, men play a very important role in helping women in leadership. They allow that space. And so and these mentors for me actually gave me just that, gave me space, and were very much there to support any type of decision sometimes that I had to make, and some challenges that I faced. But yeah, very grateful for having such great mentors.
That's amazing. I'm happy that basically you have a lot of examples for mentors and women to look up to, but also being able to, grow with the men in the industry and in your, company, who have given you the right skill sets required and the experience required to become an effective leader. How you have been in this industry for so long, and I think we were touching upon this in the starting of the interview, which is once you're in aviation, you are always in aviation. What do you love about, aviation and being part of aviation? What's your favorite thing about it?
There's many, but off the top of my head, the one thing I really like about aviation is that there's never a dull moment. And we are impacted by so many different factors, but that's what makes it challenging. Every day is another day. There's not, especially in the area that we're in, which is procurement, and we see so many different projects. And I keep on telling my team, there's not one project that is exactly similar to the other, and it makes it for a great experience. So yes, never a dull moment, and it keeps us on our toes, I would say.
You like the action-packed workplace.
Yes.
A lot of AOGs and work stoppages, and everything needs to be done yesterday.
Well, if you think about it, it's an industry that's impacted by so many different things, right? Something as simple as weather has a serious impact to the airline industry. So yes, and it makes it very dynamic and very interesting at the same time.
Same here. I love the speed at which, aviation moves. I love how, quick we have to be in making decisions and solving issues and being strategic at the same time. It's a great balance of, creating impact, but also challenging ourselves on how to stay ahead in the game.
Correct.
Is there anything that you would like to change about aviation industry as a whole? Aviation, it has been great as is, and with COVID, things have been changing. Any thoughts on what you might want to change?
This is a very interesting question. I have to think quite a bit about this one, but I would have to say, if there was one thing that I could change, I would love for all operators around the globe to have the same rules and regulations. And one of the things that makes this very challenging is that depending on where you're operating or where the operator's from, so the airline, depending that country, you have different rules and sets of regulations to go by. And when you're competing on the world stage, and everybody that's playing basically has different rules. So if there was one thing that I would love to change, it would be that, to make sure that at least we have certain level of same rules and regulations that make it more of a fair play or fair game, if I could say.
Right. Yeah, it definitely makes it hard to, especially as Air Canada is expanding with regulations and different in every single, region, it becomes really challenging. I've also, noticed that operators do not want to collaborate a lot together. There's a lot of competition. What do you think about that? Is that here to stay, or do you think that might change?
I think you do see especially with the alliances, there are a lot of different alliances, and they were formulated on that basis that, probably working together, there are benefits that we can all bring. And I think that, there is this element of competition, and competition is great because it keeps us from evolving and constantly improving. So competition is definitely here to stay, and it has its place for sure. Collaboration with the airlines, I think, is also here to stay, and it's just a little bit of a balance of both. Because in collaborating with other operators, definitely there's some efficiencies there that we can gain, and there's a place for it as well. So I would say it's a bit of both that we still need in the industry.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And it gives a segue to the next question on, you're saying collaboration and also standardization and regulations would be very important. Do you see, the industry in 10 years, where it's headed, and what are the signs of it being headed in that direction?
So from where I stand, I think, and I kind of tie it into your next question, which is digitalization. The industry, if I look at the past, it was one of those industries that lagged when it came to technology, but that's no longer the case. There is definitely a place for technology, and the airline industry, the aviation industry as a whole, is really now taking benefit of those technology improvements that it has to offer. So we're definitely going to see some major changes, the implication of AI, whether it be from a passenger perspective or whether it be from maintenance perspective, where a lot of things are happening in the whole predictive maintenance area, and using AI to get us there. Major improvements. Even if we take a look at the aircrafts themselves, a lot of technology going into the aircrafts themselves. And so that it's bringing us to a whole new level in the industry. So I think that's where we're headed, where we're going to see some major improvements from a technology perspective, whether it be from airport experience, maintenance experience. There's a lot of improvements there that we're going to see for sure in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's great that leaders like yourself are thinking in that direction, because the fact that we can fly and the engineering behind the aircrafts, it's a marvel in itself. It's a genius. It's an engineering genius on how, our aircrafts, fly. And I think it's about time, like you said, that our customer experience, our operations, the back end, maintenance and operations are also getting digitized and adopting AI solutions to match the engineering success, even the way we fly, right?
Very much so.
What about the suggestions for the industry? Do you have any suggestions for the industry that you would like to share?
I wouldn't say I have a suggestion per se for the industry itself, but more a suggestion for aspiring young women that, they do have an opportunity in today's world that where many doors are already open. And my only advice here and my only suggestion is to take those opportunities. There's many women, that came before my time that opened those doors for us. And I would love to see more young women, take on that opportunity to use those doors and just explore, because those opportunities are there. There's more choice for women, and it's great to see. So I wish that I would just make sure that there's young women that get that message to take up those opportunities.
Yeah, and I hope that with this, interview, the young women who are inspiring to be leaders like yourself have found a mentor in you to reach out and ask for advice and direction to grow in this career. But with that, I really want to thank you again, Grace, for taking the time. I know you're super busy, and taking the time to speak about your experience as a leader. That can help, other women to also find inspiration as they are climbing the career ladder and impacting their departments and, aviation as a whole. So I do really hope that a lot of women can look up, to Grace as an example, and hopefully do something similar in the companies that they are in, or as they are deciding to join aviation. So this really, concludes our interview with Grace. The insights that, Grace, you have shared are very, very illuminating. And I'm sure that personally, even for me, this has been very, inspiring to listen to your, background and experience. And I hope for everyone who's listening, their knowledge has also been expanded. I am personally very passionate about aviation and the women in aviation and diversity. So I can't, wait to see, as Grace and other women leaders, become C-level executives and VPs in their own organizations, and all the great things that Grace, you will do at Air Canada. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Great. This concludes our interview. If you want to reach Grace, her LinkedIn link is right here on the screen. Please feel free to reach out. And if you would like to talk to SkySelect about AI and machine learning that we are offering for solutions in maintenance and procurement in aviation, please reach out to me